It's always so awkward for me having to record y'all.
I got screens. I love how we all just know now. And we're getting so used to this.
Y'all are my guinea pigs.
We support you in your school.
I will definitely buy y'all some popcorn.
Pizza.
That's your favorite snack, not ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What do we
I
like?
can eat it.
What do we want?
Pizza.
Raises.
What do we want it? Now. So, alright. So what we're gonna do is, my name's Mario. I'm gonna give you a speech, an informative speech about the kinetic chain within the body, right? So, how I would like to start this speech off is, how many times have y'all had like a little injury that just started randomly, and then out of nowhere, like a week later, it turns into something a lot bigger? For example, let's say you had a little ankle issue, and then next week you're like, my knee hurts, right? Simple stuff like that is what we kind of take for granted, because the body just naturally kind of fixes itself, and you just don't really put any like two to two together, right? So there's two quotes that I'd like to give y'all to kind of start this off. Here's the first one. When a link in the kinetic chain is weak or misaligned, the whole system suffers. Pain is often just a symptom, not a source. And that is from Greg Cook, a physical therapist. Second quote that I want to leave you with is, the kinetic chain, that is a sequence of movements that will maintain or that will maximize your effort. And that is by Jim Flood, which he's actually the author of the book called The Complete Guide to Indoor Work. So two different people from two different areas of expertise, but they both mean the same thing. They're both trying to, for better or worse terms, help everybody acknowledge that the body is a well-oiled machine that we have to acknowledge, right? So, the body is a simple thing. We've already established that. But why is it so simple? Because we're by keto creatures, or is it because of another reason? I like to think of it as more of the reason why it's so simple is because at the end of the day we're very, very simple creations. We walk regularly, we weigh. Everything is just on hinges basically, right? So your shoulder has a hinge, your elbow bends right here. There's no complication to it. But we do complicate things based on what we naturally do from day-to-day basis, right? So if you're constantly sitting, what tends to happen? Your hip flexors tend to start getting more shorter because that's just your natural posture now. When you're naturally slouching like this, what tends to happen? Your back muscles and your traps start to get a little weaker because you're not walking upright how you're supposed to, right? It's just simple things like that that people never put into context or actually pay attention to, that just ruin our day-to-day life and the long run. One thing that I kind of want to talk about is a little bit is how the kinetic chain even started coming around, right? Back in the 1950s, Dr. Arthur Steinberg described as our joints and our muscles as a chain. So if you were to tear one of your muscles right here, your forearm would cease to really be functioning, right? If you were to cut your Achilles off the bone, then you would no longer be able to really run or to walk properly. So it's all a chain. If you break a chain on a bike, what happens? You can't pedal, you can't make the bike go forward. You can't make the bike do anything. So it's the same thing. And since 1950s is when a lot more people started actually paying more attention to the functions of the human body, and not just in the anatomy and physiology, but more in the performance area, right? That's 1950s. The Olympics started becoming like a really big thing. Every country wanted to have the best athletes out there, so they started investing more and more into understanding what can we do to make the human body a lot more effective and maximize the potential that we have stored within our genetics, basically. So he brought up two good points. So he founded the open kinetic chain, and an example of that would be the leg extensions, right? So leg extension is a nice simple motion, and just extend your legs. Very simple. Nothing too complicated. You technically, whenever you're waking up in the morning and you're stretching out nice and big and you're flexing your legs, almost like doing the leg extension, but you're already in the extended position. He also came up with a closed kinetic chain. So remember when I taught y'all how to do a push-up not too long ago? So that would be a closed kinetic chain. Or a squat, it's a closed kinetic chain. Reason being, you're doing the entire process. So you're not just extending, you're also contracting, going all the way down, and then also having to extend. So you're contracting your hamstrings, which is opening one form of the kinetic chain, and then when you extend your legs to complete that squat, that's now a closed loop. You just close the loop. So one thing that I kind of always try to nag on all my clients whenever I was a personal trainer is never neglect a little nagging pain. Why? Because every time you neglect one thing, it's literally just going to affect the next thing. And the biggest one that I've always heard is, hey, my knees hurt. Hey, my hip hurts. Always something with the lower body because nobody ever pays attention. It's so overused and no one stretches. How many of y'all here stretch? Besides the people that actually go to the gym. Nobody. And it's okay. You don't have to learn, you don't have to, it's just natural. Like you naturally don't do any form of exercise, like stretching is kind of a waste of time. And even me that I like to work out, I don't stretch all the time. But then whenever I start getting these pains, I'm like, I probably should have stretched, right? Here's another quote that I want to give you. The body moves as a whole, not in isolated segments. The kinetic chain ensures that the movement in one joint affects the others. So what does that mean? It means anytime I'm trying to push forward, something else has to activate for me to actually continue to go. Kind of goes back to like Newton's law of motion. An object in motion will stay in motion unless a force is acted upon it. Right? And then another quote that I want you to kind of think about, which goes back to what I just said about the walking. The kinetic chain explains how your foot strikes, can impact your knees, hip, and even your posture. Everything is connected. Okay? So for example, if I'm naturally walking like this, what do you think is going to end up hurting?
Your back.
Which part?
Upper ankle or everything.
Okay. I would say that it would more affect my lower back since my lower back is not having to carry all of it. Right? If I'm walking nice upright, what do you think is going to happen? Where's all the weight and where's all the distribution kind of going?
Is it in lower body?
It's even. It's a nice singular plane. The moment you deviate from that plane, you start affecting different areas of your body. So a good one that I kind of like always talking about is when a person is walking. When a person is walking, there's different gaits and also different ways that people walk. So you're supposed to walk foot right here, nice knee. How many times have we seen?
My short bit. Sorry.
How many times have we seen a person walk with their feet out?
I'm a meeting or what?
That's a speech.
Teach for school.
So,
Sorry.
how
You're
many
good.
people walk like this, right?
Yeah.
Meaning their toes are pointed out. It's creating issues on their calves, which is not creating issues on their knees, which is not going to create issues on their hips, because it's one singular. So the reason why the knee is always the one that tends to get affected when you have any sort of injuries, the knee can only do one motion, which is bending forward and back. Your ankle is a ball. It has the ability to rotate. Your hip has the ability to rotate. So it's those two areas are rarely ever going to actually get like fully injured, unless you obviously have like a fracture or something. But those are the areas that rarely will ever get injured. It's always going to be your knees because it can't bend side to side. It can't bend. It can't open up like your hip can. It can't flex in and out like your feet can, right? So anytime you get a pain on the outside of your knee, that usually means that something's going on in your ankle that's creating that need to kind of be pushed out. So if you feel the pain on the inside, it usually means something's forcing that knee to kind of concave in. Which, if you notice too, people that walk bow-legged or have pigeon toe, or knee knock is what I prefer to use. Like those people are going to start having issues with either the MCL or ACLs, based on what perspective way they have. And can it be genetical? It could be, but it also is dependent on how people walk, really, and how you jog. All that plays into effect of it. To start, I'm gonna leave out with one more quote before I finish out with the last part. You always have to train movements, not muscles, and that is by Mike Boyle, and he is a performance coach. So what he means by that is, a lot of the times people don't understand. A lot of the times people want to just work out the muscles. How many times do you hear a man be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to the gym. I want to work out my biceps. I'm just gonna work out my biceps," or "Oh, I'm just gonna go work out chest because I want a bigger chest." All the time. Why? Because it's so simple, and nobody really pays attention to what actually goes into effect to build that big bicep, or to build that big chest, or to build that big belly. Right? The entire movement is what really creates that strength for that muscle to actually contract and to get bigger. So you could, if you were to on a chest press, when I showed you how to do the push-up, I showed you the proper technique and proper form, right? So if someone is just going to the gym and working on chest, and he doesn't understand the proper way to actually do the correct movement, he'll probably have his elbows up, flared out, so he's probably going to be using a lot of shoulders instead of having them nice and controlled, 45-degree angle, where he's actually using more of his chest. So he'll probably come back to me in like 2 months and be like, "Hey, I've been doing chest, my chest isn't getting bigger, I'm not getting any stronger." And then he'll probably even say, "My shoulder's also been bothering me now." And that's when I would tell him, "Hey, well, have you been doing the movement correctly?" And that's when he'll probably be like, "Well, no, I was just doing the exercise." But that right there shows you that he didn't understand that there's a specific movement to the technique of chest press. If we start recognizing and acknowledging the little thing that it takes for our body to actually have a nice performance and just maximize our way of living, we'll be able to live a lot longer, a lot healthier, and with less complications down the road. Thank you.
The ice cream is by EMS outside.